Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. It has been a hot minute and pretty much the world has completely changed, so that's why my hair is just like way too long. I was supposed to go in the middle of March. Yeah, I don't think I have to like really talk about it because we all know what happened. I am finally going back to work, but I still wanted to film it and I still wanted to start filming again. I was with my parents for 2 months because I couldn't go working since I am working in the restaurant cafe business, so nothing was open. One thing I really started doing was reading. I have such a long Amazon reading list. Like every time someone mentions a book, I just put it on my Amazon list. I have a fiction one and a non-fiction one because I hate to mix those two things. I really like to read a non-fiction and a fiction. With all of this quarantine, I just really wanted to dive deep into fiction. And I have a few books to share. I'm so sorry for the lighting. Sun is just coming and going today, but I was just really inspired to film this today. Also, on a second note, I don't have all the books with me since I was with my parents in Germany. Some of the books are still there. I couldn't fit them all in my suitcase. First of all, going into the quarantine, I was reading Over the Top by Jonathan Van Ness. Jonathan's was really nice. I really enjoyed it. I love his story. How he came to hairdressing. To me, it was a really inspiring story. I really loved it. It was one that was really hard for me to get into. It took me a really long time to read it. It's definitely a really inspiring story if you are in the LGBTQ plus community, or just a nice read and you're really interested in his story. Second book I read is not currently with me. It's called Minimal. It's pretty much a guide on how to become more of a minimalist. I'm really interested in this topic. I'm not anywhere near to become a minimalist, especially with my closet, with like so many things, but I'm really interested in the topic and in just downsizing, purchasing more purposefully, and I really thought it's a nice guide to get into it. Like there are recipes in it, just like so many decluttering and guides, pretty much like how to declutter, how to go about it. But if you really want to start with minimalism or just really get into it, read into it, I thought it was a really nice guide. It probably wasn't the best time to read it since I was with my parents. Everything I read I couldn't really do because I couldn't declutter. I wasn't in my own space, but I was really excited to come here and do some of the things. I definitely decluttered even more. I downsized a few things. I'm on a long journey to it and I really want to take you with me on this YouTube channel, but it's definitely still the beginning. The third book I read was She Must Be Mad by Charlie Cox, which is a poetry. It was really nice. It was like a one-day read through. I'm a really slow reader, so a one-day read through is just like a lot for me. There are not a lot of books I read in one day. I don't really have a lot of things to say about this, but I did really like it, and if you are into poetry, I can recommend it. All of my books I got from Amazon because that was pretty much the only place since my parents live in a really small town, so I didn't really have like a big bookstore, even though those were closed as well. My fourth book I also don't have with me. It's the book called It's Okay to Feel Blue. I have this one here, which is Feminists Don't Wear Pink. It's from the same author, Scarlett Curtis. It's a compilation of a lot of stories from really inspiring people, and same with It's Okay to Feel Blue. This one, it's really just focused on feminism and just women. In It's Okay to Feel Blue, it's much more focused on like depression. There's like a big trigger warning on it. Like there are a lot of hard topics, but it's also a really inspirational book on how to help and all those kind of things, and I really loved it. It was amazing to read through all of those people's stories. Another book which I feel like is not quite a book, I mean it is, but like it's not really a storybook. Cordially Invited from Zoe. It came out over a year ago. It took me a really long time to pick this up since I heard a lot of mixed reviews about it, but I still wanted to see it for myself since I am a really big fan of hers for a really long time. Zoe was definitely one of the first YouTubers I've watched when I've started watching English speaking. I still wanted to pick it up, and it is a really nice book. There are some really cool recipes in it, but I do get what a lot of people say. It's definitely more for like her fan base, and I would not recommend it to someone who's like, oh, I want to like pick up a book about hosting and stuff. There are some beautiful pictures in here and just like some really cool recipes for like barbecue. Like there are all the seasons in here, but on the end of the day, some things like for Valentine's Day, watch a movie. We all know that ourselves. For me, this will function more of like coffee table book. Looks really nice. The next book I've read, I also don't have here. It's called Someone New. It's a German fiction book, so if you're German, I highly recommend you pick it up. I love that book. I really just love the story. I love the twist at the not really the twist, but like it's something that you don't see coming, and I don't want to spoil anything. I just want to say it's an LGBTQ plus story. Like there are some LGBTQ plus characters in there, which is really cool. You don't really see it from the beginning, but yeah, it's a really nice love story, and it's also the first part of a trilogy. The second part I definitely want to pick up again. The third one comes out in October, so I'll definitely have read the second one by then, and I'm really excited. My friends, the Queer Eye guys. Last but not least, I read Karamo's book way back. Bobby doesn't have one, I think. And there's also Anthony's cookbook. But then we have Tan. I think he's definitely one of my favorites since I really also do love fashion. But I can't really pick. Like Jonathan and his sass, amazing. Karamo and all his like deep talks. Who wouldn't fall for them? And then we have Tan. This book was really filled with stories about fashion in his life, especially with his cultural background, with him living in London, growing up there. I really liked it. Him and his husband are just like the cutest, like they're so damn adorable, and I can't wait for season like 5 coming out on Friday. I will binge it on Friday. And I will cry at every episode. It's just, I'm an emotional wreck pretty much watching Queer Eyes. And also the paperback version came out in April, so I bought it when it came out, since I really don't like hardcover when I read a book. And then last book that I fully read, and then we're coming to the one that I'm currently reading. The last book that I fully read in quarantine was More Than Words. I think I've picked it up in Katie Bilatti's Instagram story maybe. I pick up so many books from her. Also one of my favorite love stories. So cute, so just like mysterious. Her dad dies, which is really sad, and then she isn't sure about her boyfriend anymore at the time. It's kind of a classic love story where you're just so comfortable with your boyfriend at the time since you've been together for literally kindergarten, and then life throws things at you, you change in life. It's written in like third person, which I don't really have a lot in books. Especially with love stories, you don't really see it being written in third person, I feel like. It's mostly about one person's perspective. I was just team Raphael from the beginning. How like forward he was. I really do loved it, and I was really happy for her that she chose the path that she chose. So yeah, More Than Words I can highly recommend. Last but not least, the book that I'm currently reading is Where the Crawdads Sing. I'm halfway through pretty much, and I have to say it was a really hard one to get into. It's playing in 1959 towards 1969 in a small town in North Carolina, I want to say. Most of the fiction books I read are from either now or not really like far back. So reading this was really hard for me. As you can tell, I speak English, but English is not my mother language. So in this book is a hard accent, like a hard, just like southern accent, I want to say. And that was really hard for me to get into, since it's not that easy to like translate in my head. It's not that easy to read for me in my head. So it took me much longer to read it, but still, I can recommend it. I'm getting more and more into it. I'm more and more curious on what's gonna happen with Kaya. Also the names. I'm sorry, but like the names. One boy is called Tate. I can only think of Tate from the first season of American Horror Story. I'm so sorry. I know that probably is not what he looks like, but that's what he looks like in my head because his name is Tate. But yeah, I think it's a crazy story. Like, her mom's leaving her, she's just walking away. Her dad's leaving her, he's just walking away. All of her siblings are just like walking away, and she's alone living in this house, making money on her home by selling fish to a guy. The story is just crazy to me. And then like 10 years later, also, like, it's not like a timeline, we're jumping in time, but I'm really curious on how it's gonna end, if her parents are ever gonna come back. Like, that's just a thing. Like, out of nowhere they leave in like the first chapter, and she's alone on her own for pretty much the whole time. And then there's Tate. But then Tate goes to college. I would recommend it. Obviously haven't read the whole book, but from what I've read, which is half, I still would recommend it. Those were all of my reads for now. My next books that I'm going to read is Such a Fun Age. So many people have talked about it and I finally want to read it. I already picked it up. It's definitely one of my next reads. Also, Find Me, the not kind of sequel from Call Me By Your Name. Oh, I love Call Me By Your Name. And then Megan Ring's book, You're Not Special, definitely picking that up as well pretty soon, since it just came out after such a long time. But yeah, definitely tell me what you want to see after this quarantine now. I'm back in Vienna, back working. I'm so excited to be like back. I'm finally getting back into things, finally going back to work. I've been now back to work for I think about 3 weeks. It's still really slow. And yeah, I really do hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Bye guys.